It's my distinct pleasure to introduce tonight's speaker and a very special guest. His bio is in your program, so I'm not going to read it to you. But he's a great friend of ours. He's a great proponent of tourism in Pennsylvania, and especially understands the value of sports tourism from the 49th Senatorial District, our friend Senator Sean Wiley.
What he just said to me is just perfect, because he used to say that to me when I was wearing the stripes refereeing a basketball game. Don't screw it up. Good evening, everyone. I would like to take a break from the program tonight. I just heard of some news, and those of you from Erie would recognize this name. The gentleman, John Horan, who is a fixture in this community, passed away tonight. And I wanted to take a moment of silence, if we may. Thank you very much. Those of you that knew John knew what impact he had on this community. You knew how many things that he provided and contributed to this area throughout his lifetime, and please keep him he and his family in your thoughts and prayers. Now, on a lighter note, let's talk about this, huh? Good evening, everybody. It is my honor, my true honor, to be here tonight as we celebrate the impact that each of you have made on our community, both collectively as organizations as well as individually as citizens of the greater Erie area. We are all here tonight because we know that our community is vibrant, strong, growing, and a destination. And that only happens because there are people who believe that Erie is home. I'm an Erie guy. I was born here. I went to Our Lady's Christian School. I went to Fairview High School after that, and I'm raising my family here by choice. So when I speak about Erie, I use the word we. I'm talking about myself as well. We spend a lot of time and effort on what's going wrong here. There's a perception that Erie isn't a place that anyone wants to be, or that people are leaving here in droves, or that there aren't any jobs or streets that are safe. Just watch the 6 o'clock news. We do have our share of significant challenges. There is no question about that. Are those challenges disproportionate to our sister cities across the Commonwealth or like-sized cities across this nation? I don't think so. But why do we allow those challenges to be the pervasive narrative? Why do we allow our dinner conversations to be focused on negativity, or our chats around the coffee pot each morning to be only about last night's newscast or what we were watching on Netflix? And by the way, I'm rewatching The West Wing because I'm a political geek, and I'd recommend it to anybody. But I'm not advocating that we ignore those facts. I'm no Pollyanna, trust me. But however, why don't we talk about all the remarkable things that happen in this community every single day? Why don't we celebrate ourselves like we are tonight? Why is talking about our accomplishments considered to be arrogant or boastful instead of being strategic and beneficial? One of the cool parts about my job is that I get to travel across this Commonwealth. Heck, I get to see 3/4 of it every week when I go to work to Harrisburg. And let me tell you, we live in a gorgeous state, without compare. And Northwest Pennsylvania is absolutely the most beautiful part of Pennsylvania. And I know I'm a little biased, but it truly is. I've made it my mission to reintroduce Northwest Pennsylvania to the balance of this Commonwealth and beyond. Because each of us in this room knows that once a person makes it here, they will be back. It's also my mission to make it clear that a minimal investment in Northwest Pennsylvania yields incredibly high returns. We all complain that we aren't Allegheny County or Philadelphia County because they get all the money, right? But it really is a good thing that we aren't Allegheny County and Philadelphia County, because a $5 million investment there isn't transformational like it is here. This facility that we are in tonight is a prime example. It never would have been able to have been constructed in Allegheny County or Philadelphia County, as the cost would have been way too much. And speaking of Philadelphia, quick story. My colleague and my very, very dear friend, Senator Hughes, the chairman of the Senate Appropriations Committee and a member of the Philadelphia delegation, came to visit me in my first term, early in my first term. He stayed at the Sheraton and saw a gorgeous autumn sunset and sunrise. I picked him up mid-morning the following day, and he said, Sean, he says, I got to tell you, he says, you've got a beautiful lake here. Just gorgeous sunrise and sunset over the water. He says, it's just amazing. Ladies and gentlemen, he thought the bay was the lake. So when I took him around the corner and showed him open water, he was absolutely blown away. And I know there are so many other people, just like Senator Hughes, that are blown away by what we offer and what we often take advantage of and take for granted every day. Erie is no longer the best kept secret in this Commonwealth. And that is thanks to groups like Visit Erie and the Sports Commission and businesses in our community like Scott Enterprises and Waldemere, among many others. So let me digress a minute and share with you a story about implementing the hotel motel tax. County executive, you know what I'm talking about. I was the director of administration for Erie County at the time, and you would have thought that we wanted to take everyone's firstborn by the amount of outrage about a 5% hotel motel tax. John, you remember that? And almost 10 years later, each of us reaps the benefit of that now 7%. And a tourism organization that's sole purpose is to make as many people as possible love Erie and travel here as often as they can. What would our community be like without the 4 million visitors annually to Presque Isle? Superintendent, what do you think? Mr. Green? Or the water slides, wave pool, and Ferris wheel at Waldemere, if they sat empty? If Scott Enterprises only consisted of Dunkin' Donuts and Applebee's, and Splash Lagoon was a car wash, why would anyone drive up Peach Street? Let's imagine that our streams were full of just carp, and that the lake was overrun with algae and smelled like an outhouse, rendering it useless. Or that the Erie Zoo consisted of a house cat and a row of bird feeders. What if the state park system in our Commonwealth just didn't exist and there were no visitor centers? Or if there were signs on the borders that said, you don't have a friend in Pennsylvania, so don't bother coming here. Or don't visit PA. We don't want you here. Take your money to Ohio. Let's be real foolish about things and turn away from the 60,000 people who participated in or spectated the 35-plus events this past year hosted by the Sports Commission. Because our community doesn't want the over $10 million they spent here. All of that sounds absurd and we laugh about it, but really, really think about that. What would Erie look like if tourism didn't exist? Or if sports tourism hadn't grown in such popularity? How would we fill the hole in our economy of hundreds of millions of dollars spent here each year? What if crazy people like me didn't have the opportunity to spend 3 weeks with blue toes and green armpits because of the color run? Right? What if there wasn't a Ron Surtz or a John Oliver or a Nick Scott or a Paul Nelson or a Scott Mitchell or an Almy Clerkin? What if there were no Bayhawks, no Seawolves, no Otters, no Brig Niagara? What if the peninsula was gated, closed off to the public? All things to think about. Visit Erie and the Sports Commission are both models for this Commonwealth, examples of how it should be done. And they are both often the envy of their counterparts across this Commonwealth. There is no question that tourism is a tremendous economic driver for local communities, as well as the Commonwealth as a whole. But yet, there exists a pervasive devaluation and chronic underfunding by the Commonwealth. We've all seen the I Love New York, Pure Michigan commercials, Discover South Carolina, Virginia is for Lovers, and even the Idaho Adventures in Living. When is the last time Pennsylvania marketed itself in this way? People in my position have made it incredibly difficult by decimating budgets, forcing staff cuts in departmental organizations and reorganizations. How is that in the best interest of this Commonwealth moving forward? The numbers are there. The data is available. We know that tourism brings money to our state and our communities. And yet people like me have to fight for each dollar to be allocated in a way that is knowingly beneficial for this Commonwealth. I do have one challenge for you tonight before I give up the mic. I know all of you are waiting for me to stop talking and sit down, see what happens when you give a politician a microphone. I challenge each of us to be tourists in our own backyard, and also to continue to be the best ambassadors that we can be. Here's what I mean by that. So on a trip last week to Asbury Woods Nature Center for a check presentation, one of the cool things that we do as legislators, and it was a recent grant award, one of my staff members admitted to me that she's never been to Asbury Woods Nature Center. Never been there. Or this one always gets me. This is one of my favorites. When I hear us say that we're not going to go to the peninsula in the summer because it's too busy. Really? Or it's too far to travel from Fairview to the wineries in Northeast. How does that happen? We spend our time and resources telling the rest of the world how great we are, and yet we have a significant population of Erie people, of us, who are missing out on just so much. So, each of us tonight has the same obligation, the same duty as people who love Erie, to love Erie to its fullest, and to share that love of Erie with your friends and our families. So, hello Erie. Let's run for color. Let's wrestle and vault for a spot on the podium. Let's sit courtside for hoops. Let's get 5 in the box for fighting. Let's get behind the 8 ball for a win. Let's sing in the 7th inning stretch. Let's pass the runner in front of us on the beachfront road. Let's build a Beach 6 sandcastle. Let's sing along every summer Tuesday. Let's steal a grape off the vine after a glass of wine, and let's catch the monster steelhead. Let's float our boats on a lazy Sunday. Let's fill up on Smiths and Romulos. Let's ride the tall ships and visit Joy the sloth. Let's find red beach glass and send a message in a bottle. Let's catch that production that gets a standing ovation, and let's walk the Pirates Cove and ride the slide. Let's splash in the lagoon and ski down the peak. And let's continue to be the shining star of Pennsylvania and be damn proud of it. Thank you.